Welcome to our forum this morning. Yes, my hope was that as the time went on that we would build a bigger an audience, but along the way, I am thrilled to say that Andrew and Lucy have joined, and this is great. I really, I'm sure you feel the same way. I don't know if you've experienced it this week or not, but this has been the week of disappearing signs. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
all over the place, signs have started disappearing. I mean, I've had some plucked out of my front yard.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, and it's a weird deal. And then of course the state just hoovered up Ogden, and they just did some more too. They just took Ogden, where it comes and turns underneath the train trestle. There used to be a bunch of stuff there on North of before North Aurora. That's all gone today too. Everything's gone. And that breaks my heart because I only bought like 250 signs.
yeah, me too.
And I got them all out. And every sign that's gone, I can't replace these signs. It's a disappointment. Top of the afternoon to you, Vince.
Same to you, Mark, and everybody else.
The rest of the day to myself, I think, is the way that goes, as I understand. So something along that line. So anyhow, today, basically, I was hoping that we could talk about, how the campaign is going so far. Also to talk a little bit, Andrew, it's nice to have you back again. I'm happy. It looks like you're still working downtown, huh?
Yep.
There you go.
Unfortunately, but we've been working pretty much throughout the entire pandemic. So it seems with the vaccines getting out and about, and everyone's downtown at least starting to get more and more life back into it. Not really going anywhere. So
Yeah,
it is what it is.
Yep. So do you see the end in sight? Are you feeling pretty good?
In terms of the pandemic or the race?
Either of them both, but I mean, let's talk about your campaign. Any more events left up for you, or are you just
really just get out the vote, trying to get people together to go door to door and just try and get talk to as many people as you can in what are we, a week and a half, 2 weeks?
No,
a little less than that.
How about you, Lucy? What are your last 10 days are looking like, or 11 days?
I'm probably just gonna, you got the email, so we have to go in the morning and put our signs up and then take them out before the end of the day.
At the most ridiculous. I didn't get that email. That came from the city or something?
No, I sent it to you, I think.
From you. Okay.
Oh, I didn't send it to you.
You did send it to me. And that's why there was an email that you said, well, I guess we have to do this in the morning. That thing at the city hall is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Yep.
Well, I think that's going to be everything, because I went out last night to put up some signs, and there were none at the library, at the 95th Street Library. I think they pulled them all at the end of the election. They do.
So, as soon as what I'm hearing is that you're not supposed to put them up until 8:30 in the morning, or when the polls open, and when the polls close, you're supposed to remove the signs.
So I'm going to do a lot of driving around during spring break and putting out signs and picking them up. But I have an anti-Asian hate rally tomorrow. I've never done one of these things, but
well, we seem to need that right now, and I don't understand. This is just crazy, isn't it? This hatred all of a sudden that's being beaten.
Yeah, but the one of the things that we have to temper it with is that media always plays this stuff up before an election too. So I try to be sensitive, and I want, it stirs up so many emotions, but I really want it to be more about, hey, let's just stand in solidarity and have the courage to still leave our houses and make friends with people and not feel, try to look at the positive too. I mean, we all want to stop this, but there are things that we can do without, pushing from both sides.
Yeah, it's very unusual too, because for me to have this backlash against the Asian community seems so strange to me. I just, I mean, the people who have conflated this somehow to be associated with the COVID-19, and this is just a horrible thing that people are doing.
Yeah.
This thing in this Atlanta thing, really seemed to really crystallize that they I don't know what that was all about down there, but tragic, right?
Yeah, but it's a combination of mental illness and hate, and it's hard to categorize it where you should feel like you can't leave your house because you're Asian. It's horrible. It was absolutely horrible, but
Have you felt it? I mean, are you personally experiencing, or your children, have they been?
I have, even in Naperville, teenagers are and there was I swear he was like 8 or 9 years old kid on his bike with his friends who was saying ching chong to me. This was like it was a few months before the COVID shutdown. Because I remember I chased him down and I just like cussed him out. But yeah, but this was for all the times that happened when I was a little kid. I'm like, hey, you're a little kid. I can take you. But I think. Yeah, it's weird. I just think a lot of it is what they hear from their parents. I don't know where the audacity was, where you're gonna do this to a middle-aged Asian woman, that's still bigger than you. But yeah,
they like you said, they were on a bike, so they were more mobile. So
I run fast. I chased down I got to the last one. They're all kind of going, and they weren't. I told them to F off, and then I was walking home, and then I'm like, you know what? I can't leave this alone. So I chased the kids down. I was wearing high-heeled boots, and I still caught up to them.
Wow.
And, I caught the last one. I said, what's your friend's name? What school do you go to? And I think he made it up. But anyways, by the end, the kid was apologizing, and, I think he learned his lesson. But,
appropriately freaked out that you actually did that. Which
I hope he shit himself. That's what I hope. But
I think that's hilarious. You know what I would like to see? I would like to see the runoff between Allison and Lucy now, based on that. Since you both have been running for us, I mean, I would love to see it. But just to make it fair, I think we should make you go with those high-heeled boots.
I am not a fast runner.
I have a comment about signs. I know the last election, I ran into a Park District police person picking up signs after the election. And I said, I feel bad that you have to do this. And she said, yeah, we keep them for a couple of weeks before we dispose of them. We ask them to come pick them up. So I don't know if Park District has any of our signs or not, but you may want to call and find out, have you guys been picking up signs? If so, I'll come get what you have.
It looked like Allison or somebody had some conversation. It looks like the state looks like they chucked them.
Well, the state would. I'm just thinking if the city or the Park District is nice enough to keep them, if they've pulled them, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I have a very good relationship, goes back a while, with code enforcement. They pick up the signs that are on the parkway currently now, and a lot of those end up in the city garage, like at the municipal center. So I think you can go right now and see if any are there, and you can pick them up. Okay. In some cases, they do throw them away. Like the other day at the Public Works, we had ours up at like 6:45. They got there at 7. They thought all of the signs were there overnight. They took them all. They didn't put them in the garage. They threw them away.
Yes, that's what I was wondering. Were the ones the municipal center they take down? Are they in the garage? Do you think?
They could very well be. I've never been over to the municipal center to see to check those out for myself. I need to do that. As far as after the election, it is our responsibility to go through, and wherever we have our volunteers putting up signs, we need to go and remove them. And so basically it'll be whatever volunteers were out putting them up, they should do the same kind of drive-bys and do the pickup as well. And I'm sure there will be ones that are missed. And so then it's just kind of up to us, like if I say I saw one of Lucy's and it was, 3 days later, I would just send a note to Lucy and say, hey, there's one up here, or I might stop and pick it up myself because I like Lucy. So it's just kind of like, we don't want them out there, but yeah. So
I love Lucy. I mean, she's been.
Oh, that's right. That was a missed opportunity.
You got to get these opportunities in.
Yeah. So that's just, and those I think need to be out within 2 days after the election. So Wednesday, you should get your volunteers out and be pulling up signs, at least keep a track. I'll be keeping track of where I have all the big ones because I want my stakes and need to go and get those. That's a little bit more of ordeal to get those out.
Do we know where election returns will be? Are they on DuPage County, or is it somebody going to keep track of them?
I don't know. It's a good question. I'll be watching the DuPage and Will County returns. Sometimes those take forever. We'll also, I don't know what kind of election coverage will be on TV. NCTV, I'm sure we'll be watching it as well. But I would say the DuPage and the Will County returns
will probably be the place to look, right?
Yeah, I would, also be watching NCTV, because I
Yeah.
bet that they're going to even have them maybe, hopefully before they're posted in the counties.
Well, I know they've reached out to all of us with the fact that they may have reporters, sending a Zoom link out to talk to us. So
Right.
I think that'll be an amusing thing. I have worked on that speech. I have it already. So that's a good, it's basically I've really enjoyed running in this, and regardless of the outcome, it's been a great personal experience. I'm sure you all feel exactly the same way. Okay.
I'm exhausted. I can't wait for that.
It's been ridiculous, hasn't it? I mean, that's the other question. Is it far more work than you thought it would be? Because for me, it was.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's about what I would have expected. And I have to say that I'm glad it's been over Zoom. I can only imagine how much more it would have been if we were not in this scenario and having to go night to night doing the meet and greets and stuff. I honestly don't think I would have done it if we had been in a normal situation. Working full time, I work 10 hours a day with work. And then with this, it's like, there's only so much, I have a lot of energy, but that would have been more than I would have wanted to do.
Yeah.
I think
I don't know how you work full time and have 3 children and do this.
Well, luckily they're all teenagers, so I just need to make sure that they're alive. So I don't, they can eat cereal if they want. They know how to cook. They can do that themselves. So yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing. Actually, a couple topics I would like to get to today, just if we could, okay, is a little bit about any sense of how voter turnout's going to be. The last night I was at a meeting, and we got some testimonial about early voting, and people were saying there was nobody there. Okay, that there's nobody there. So do we think are we getting any testimony that makes us think that more people are going to turn out, or do you think it's going to be very lightly attended?
My husband went to vote last night, and my friend went to vote, I think during the day yesterday, and I think they both said it was pretty empty. But it's like it's spread out. I think with early voting, it never gets crowded, which I love. Especially during COVID. I don't want to see a big line or anything, but I hope everyone's voting. I think I think Allison, you were talking about it last week, how, the controversy with the school boards, school board candidates, I think it's actually going to increase voter turnout this time. So
I agree.
That would be a good thing.
Yeah. And I think there've been a lot of people who have ordered mail-in ballots. I think people have voted early. That's data that is checkable at DuPage and stuff. So.
Yeah, I hope it's more of a turnout, in terms of what it's going to be. But I have a feeling that, and the interesting thing that I hear from people is that the reason no one turns out is because everybody's happy.
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
Right. Do you really believe that? I just don't believe that.
Well, I think they're probably happy. Like as far as when you think city services, so you think, does your garbage get picked up? And like those basic things, I think people pretty much are happy with that. And so they're not thinking about the other stuff that they probably, we know that the school board stuff and all of that discussion and the driving of the misinformation from the reopen crowd and that, there's definitely a lot of interest from both sides on that. And so I think there's clearly a group that's not happy because they just want their kids in school regardless of the safety. And then you have the other ones that are happy with how the administration has been handling it in looking at science. So you've got 2 very engaged groups.
I think it all just depends on does the voter have something passionate that drives them to the polls? Those people that are content with what is going on around them, they may not be, there's nothing there to drive them. They may not have kids that are in any of the school districts and don't care one way or the other, unfortunately, and don't realize the effect that these elections can have on them, whether they have a kid in the school or not. Whether it comes to property taxes or just the overall structure of the schooling system, it comes down to voter education, not only on the candidates, but on how important these elections are. And I think that's something I know that I've been trying to do, of educating everyone that I come in contact with, but we can't do it as candidates ourselves. There needs to be something else out there to, again, educate the voters and the populace that these elections do matter and they affect you.
That's a really good point, that, people who don't have kids in schools, they're certainly not following the District 203 parent community Facebook page. They don't care. And if they're happy with their garbage and their snow and that kind of stuff, then they're not paying attention. So it's a really good point.
Is it just me, or has 203 gotten kind of chippy, in terms of some of the stuff that's going on there? In terms,
What do you mean chippy? I mean, I think 203's handled things well. There are two things going on with the 203. One is just, the general reopen. And then the second is they did some training for diversity and inclusion. And there's a whole bunch of crowd that was against it. And so, they tried to escalate that and bring it up on a national level, and that was just kind of unacceptable. So you've got a couple of issues going on.
it just seems the tone of some of these have changed a little bit to be a little bit more hostile in a way.
It hasn't changed. It's been like that for a while, huh, Allison? I feel like it's been like that since summer.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
Oh,
I'm just
definitely.
tuned into it, but it's just like, wow, I was surprised by some of the things I've seen. Okay. It's like, I don't think that has a real place, and I really don't think that people should do that, if at all. It's, I thought that that was one of the big things, that we're trying to run a civil campaign, but some of it has been nasty. What do you think about, have you seen an increase in mailers in that? I'm starting to see in the last week, I've seen a lot more mailers. And do you think that those are more effective campaigning, or what's really worked for you, do you think? Has it been the meet and greet? What's really been working?
I mean, honestly, I'm not sure like what has worked more than others. I think, I mean, I have a mailer that just went out. I finally got a copy of it. It looked like crap. Union Printing, not high on my list right now.
Well, it didn't turn out well. I brought those boxes. The one I saw looked pretty good.
Yeah, no, they didn't send a proof. So the PDF that I sent looked perfect. And then they didn't send a proof. They're like, oh, but you sent the PDF. And then they just went and printed it, and the proof doesn't look anything like the PDF that I sent. So it is what it is. I'm not gonna, it's spilt milk. I'm like, whatever, people are gonna put it in the recycle bin anyway, as long as it has my name on it and that's spelled right. I'm not gonna care about it. It's fine. Yeah, so I don't know the effectiveness of that. I think it's what it probably is that stuff is getting in people's mail or on their doors or whatever on a regular basis. And so whether it's going straight into the trash, it's what it's highlighting is that, oh, what's this? Oh, there's an election coming up. So it kind of benefits the entire election process when they start getting all of this stuff, whether they read it or not. Hopefully one of them will break through and be like, oh, April 6th is an election, and maybe I need to look into it. So maybe that's it. But I think really the key, for me, the sign, getting signs out, and then just talking to people and meet and greets and stuff like that. I think the forums probably also help. I mean, it's just a whole bunch of stuff that we've all been involved with in that. And I'm not sure what the most effective thing is, to be honest.
I think we're not going to have any real idea anything until April 6th in the evening time.
Yeah.
And then we're going to find out if anything worked or not,
Right.
For me, it's, I most of my campaign, other than the forums and things, have been mostly through virtual, this type of thing, virtual campaigning, and we'll see what happens. Okay. It is just, like I said, I was really disappointed to see the hoovering of the signs. I thought that was horrible.
Yeah, that was just.
That was and didn't even make sense. I mean, they really didn't. It didn't make sense, and particularly when they took the ones down that were, like I said, around that bend on Ogden, where instead of going straight to North Aurora, it goes under. All those signs were up on the hill. It's like,
Yeah.
why did they take? I mean, there were even ones high up on the hill.
Oh, I know,
They took
you
them
had
all.
one.
They took them all. I couldn't
Yeah.
believe it.
Yeah, I went back today. I was going to put some up at the gas station there on the corner.
Yep.
Like the parking lot was all like
Mm-hmm.
it had police tape around it type of thing. Like, I don't know if they were refinishing the ground or something. So we couldn't get into the parking lot because I was going to put my signs up, and I put some up in front of Fresh Time again today.
Yeah.
Debate whether I want to go and put another big ass sign there. I might.
You might. Well, I'll tell you what. If you've got some left, and you're going to distribute, you got plans to distribute some tomorrow, right? Isn't there a Wheatland thing tomorrow?
Yeah.
When that's what 11 to 1:30 or something like that for signs or something like that.
I hope it is. I hope it is, and not. Let's see. Looks like at 1:30 to 3. I wish it was earlier because my
1:30 to 3. That's even much worse. But
yeah, I know. I want it to be early, but
yeah. Well, for me, it doesn't matter. I'm going to show up for a little bit, but I don't have any signs to give. What I've got left there in reserve for polling places on election day. That's all I got. I got a few left that I might try again to put a few out by Fresh Time in a few places, hoping that the state will not come sweeping through in the next.
I don't think they will. I don't think they're going to come through again. What I suspect, I wonder if, because I wanted to find out what was going on. So I called the mailboxes, et cetera, in the store just to see if I could talk to a person to see if they knew who the management company was for the whole thing. And so when I called, she's like, oh yes, the state removed those at 7:30 this morning. They were in, private property. They needed to be removed. It almost sounded like possibly it was somebody notified the state to say, come and get them, but I don't know. So.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'll tell you what, one of the things that came out from one of the clients, residents we talked to, very interesting story. And I just wonder what your thoughts are. This came out of a meeting with some people out of East Highlands, which is, just south of Chicago, and what they said to me is they said, you know what? They reacted to something we had hung out, and they said, we basically are living in a new subdivision that's been built on an old subdivision's infrastructure. Okay. They used to be an area of a bunch of little homes and big lots. Okay. And when the city built that subdivision, the concept for water management was that 50% of the water would be handled by the storm sewer system, and 50% of the water would be handled by the yards. Okay. Now, what's happened, because of 2/3 of the buildings down there have been replaced by much bigger homes. So instead of having those little homes on the big lots, now you got big homes with little lots. They're seeing tremendous flooding problems. Okay, because the storm sewer system can't handle it. So I was wondering, hopefully some of the people will be successful candidates. This is an issue that is difficult to do on a single house. When someone comes to the city and says, I want to tear down this old, ranch, and I want to build this nice new 2.5 story home, right? It's not, you can't expect the city's going to say, oh, that's okay, but you need to pay $10 million so that you can upgrade the storm sewer system, right? But there's got to be some kind of mechanism where we start accumulating something in some kind of escrow account, so that eventually when you do enough of this kind of stuff in a neighborhood, you can do the repairs that you need to do. And they're massive. I mean, all new subdivisions, when you look at them, what's a very common thing you see? Every new subdivision's got a big retention pond. All these existing subdivisions have no retention ponds.
Mark, this is exactly what I did for the last 5.5 years. I worked for DuPage County Stormwater Management.
Oh, talk to me. Lucy, help us. What can we do here? This is a mess for our people.
Oh,
just a quick question though. Quick question. So East Highlands, is that like Julian and that, or is that east of Julian?
No, this was right down Slate, but I mean, it's right.
Okay, so down in there. So that is like known flooding. That they're actually going to be taking care of stormwater in there soon. Like that, they're doing something with the sewers, and they're going to be tackling the stormwater as well. because they were so close, they are going to be working on that.
You're also talking about like south of Hillside, farther
Yeah.
south.
Yeah,
So-
that whole like area in there, that when they tear it up for whatever, the sewers and stuff, they're going to be looking at stormwater as well, just because it was both in the same place. And that's what it sounds like the city does, is that if they have something to do with a totally different thing, they look to say, well, we're tearing up the roads anyway. Is there anything else that needs to be tackled here now? And as well, and that's what they're doing. They're going to be tackling the stormwater in that, because they get flooded just so awful.
Yeah, these people were very distraught. Lucy, tell me, this is your area. We're in your wheelhouse. Talk to me about this.
So that area it's a special flood hazard management area. So that's FEMA floodplain. You're building houses, these giant houses, but right now, unless they're within the floodplain, the FEMA floodplain, we can't stop them from doing that. So we need to tighten up the ordinances. Downers Grove has changed it. So in DuPage County, by the way, DuPage County has much stricter stormwater management than Will County. Naperville's in both. So the people who build in Will County and Naperville don't have to provide as much stormwater management as people in DuPage County. But even in DuPage County, it wasn't until 2013 that we introduced, I hate the name, PCBMPs. It's post-construction best management practices.
Wow.
What it is, it's an environmental, it's a stormwater mitigation measure, so that if you want to add more than 2,500 square feet of impervious area, so that's a hard surface, to your lot, you need to capture that water and keep it on your property for the first, I think it's 1 inch of rain. You'll have to detain it. And the problem is 2,500 square feet, that's a tennis court. So up until that point, you can flood out your neighbors all you want. And these these houses that are smaller, and then they add, if they stay just under that 2,500 square feet, but if you do, but if you do it for an entire neighborhood, yes, you're going to get more flooding in that neighborhood. And so we need to tighten up our stormwater ordinance, make it citywide, not just DuPage County and Will County. And Downers Grove has done it. Elmhurst has done it. We have not. And we are one of the few cities that doesn't really have we don't technically have a limitation on the size of a building footprint. We have setback limitations and building height limitations. And that's part of what the NEST, the Naperville Environment and Sustainability Task Force, their report suggests, hey, let's follow the LEED, LEED standards, so that we require all properties to have at least 30% green space. I still don't think that's enough, but it's something. It's definitely, we need something like that, because right now it's all within regulations, and we can't stop somebody from doing it. So we need to change our ordinance.
Yeah, I agree. Is it Lombard that also has some pretty new strict things? I think it's there's another one, and it wasn't Downers. I think it was Lombard that is requiring that if you're doing construction, that you retain all topsoil. You cannot remove any topsoil from your construction, which means that the topsoil, like removing all of that, it's going to soak in a lot of the water as well. And so like having ordinances like that can also help. But you're right, we need to have stricter, code for that. I think we could probably also be creative with, whether it's a tear down or whether it's a rehab. Like maybe you're allowed to have, if you rehab an older, smaller footprint, maybe you're able to have different variances where you're not taking up, or you can take up a little bit more space, but a new one, you can only take up 50% or something. There are different, I think, creative ways that you could mandate that you have more green space.
Yeah, you can put a green roof on it. There's so much stuff that you can do. There's a lot of different green infrastructure measures that you can put in, permeable pavers, brick pavers that are permeable. You can put all that stuff in, but until we require it, no one's going to do it, because it is expensive. So
yeah, that's the key.
I mean, it's very expensive when you talk about tearing up streets too. I mean, when you talk to put in new sewers, I mean, you know that probably better than anybody, Lucy. I mean, those are $1 million projects,
Well,
multi-million-dollar.
sewers will just help flow, but if the river is already this high, the sewer is not going to drain into anything. It's just going to back up to the neighborhood. Hinsdale's got a horrible problem with that. Like, okay, the water level's here. You can have as big a pipe as you want, and it's not going anywhere.
So what can, other than creating retention areas, there's not much you can do, right? I mean, for something
Well,
like that.
restrict development, stop making it worse. And there's new technologies that I'm so excited for. There's smart detention, where, you know, we have all these detention basins in, you know, retention ponds, detention basins in Naperville. And there's technology now where you can put a pump in that detention basin. If you get a weather report that a big storm's coming in, you start pumping those empty, put it downstream, because the rivers are not flooded at this time. By the time the storm hits, those detention basins are empty and they're ready to take all the water in. So that'll help with flooding, and you detain it until it's safe to, until the river's not flooded anymore. Then you can start pumping it out again.
That is a great idea. Oh, do we have any of that?
Our ordinances will not allow that. We need to change the ordinance to allow that.
Our ordinance will not allow it. So if a homeowner's area wanted to put it in, they couldn't even do it.
No. It's just got to drain through gravity. But the problem is, and I don't know what the problem is with a lot of the detention basins. Some are on private property, and you know, some of it's on Park District property. You know, and that's just Naperville. We need to talk about the entire watershed, which is all of DuPage County. So it's a massive effort. You know, you got to have contracts. You have to have a centralized operations center. Every community needs to talk to each other if we're going to do something like that. It's a huge undertaking, but the technology is there.
And I mean, putting in that, you know, that kind of plays into one of your other favorite topics, a little 5G action tied into a smart, you know, pumping station.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you've got a lot of, we do it now. Like, does anybody know what Elmhurst Quarry is? It's an old quarry. It's not used for anything anymore except to take on the flooding from Salt Creek. So in big storms, once the water level gets to a certain amount, we open up, we let all the water flow into Elmhurst Quarry so that downstream it's not flooded anymore. That quarry is so massively huge. It can take up so much water. And I think that at one point it came pretty close to filling, which is, you should take a look on GIS about how big that quarry is. It's so huge. But so days after the storm is done and it's filled, we have to pump all that water back into Salt Creek. And that is very expensive, pumping water and it takes weeks. So there's Elmhurst Quarry, but I'm sure there are other opportunities, you know, for smaller stormwater detention, but it's happening now. We have that technology. I used to have to run the modeling for it, like model the rainstorm, figure out what the water level is going to be in all these different areas, and then decide whether or not to operate the quarry and pump all the water out. So DuPage County is extremely proactive. Most people don't know about it, but there are things that we're doing to help, but you know, there's a lot more that we could do.
The expense associated here is what, electrical energy to run the pumps?
Yes, and those pumps are so expensive. I think we had to replace them, and to inspect the quarry for cracks, I think it used to cost $25,000 per inspection. And our director was like, oh, we're going to buy a drone. So I became a drone operator for the county. And so we just fly the drone up and down. But then we crashed a few drones. I crashed one of the drones. But, you know, there's a lot of things there's new technology. I hope we are not afraid to keep trying. You know, that drone saved so much money. It was a $1,500 drone. We crashed it. He's like, okay, buy another one. It's still not $25,000. So there's a lot that we need to explore. And that's one thing that I just hope that Naperville is so good at technology and trying to, you know, stay current with the times. So I hope we continue that.
Yeah, because it would seem to me that this is a very interesting blend of the sustainable energy thing. Maybe you tie in solar and some energy storage to run those pumps when you need them. You need to do it. This is within the city. is this Ted or is this the water department or who's involved in this?
It's Ted, yeah. Yeah, so there's engineers involved, but they don't do the county stuff. They just do the city stuff. And then, but I will say, I would love us to look into hydroelectric power, you know, from all that flood water that's going into, Elmhurst Quarry. We're not doing anything with all that energy being, you know.
Spin a turbine while you're filling it up, huh?
Yeah.
And then it charges the batteries and then you use it to pump it back to Salt Creek.
I mean, I don't know. It's just some harebrained, but it could be used for something. So.
No, see, yeah, I mean, like I said, this interesting though, Allison, you said, and Lucy, that they are doing something in Highlands, because the people I talked to said they had talked to the city and they got no indication anything was happening. So are you're confident there is a project underway?
Yeah, when I can't remember who it was that I talked to. I can't remember if it was Novak or hold on, let me.
Well, Novak would be probably the right guy if it's Ted. So
Yeah, oh, Ted, that's it.
Just a real quick comment. That's okay. Hello.
always for you, Vince. You know, you never have
Okay.
to ask if it's okay.
You know, I'm sitting here listening to this and I'm looking out my window. We had all kinds of regulations on the books that suddenly disappeared about 10 years ago through variances and everything. We have a house across the street from me that I'm looking at that is probably 80% of the building right across the street from me. The people down the block have been getting flooding. The city came through and changed, but through variances, all of the restrictions that are on the books. And it seems as though that is the case in all areas of Naperville. They either ignored the rules that were on the books, or they changed the rules that were on the books just to increase the volume and size of the buildings. And I didn't notice that, and most of the other people didn't notice that until it happens in your backyard. And when it happens in your backyard, you go, how the hell did that happen? I had the head of TED come over and try to explain to me, and he rationalized and explained the whole thing to me. Mr. Novak went through it with my neighbors and said, well, we've got all these things that we can do for you with, you know, the flooding of the other houses on the block. But there was no understanding of what the problem is. And, you know, if we don't get people on the council and people participating in this on a regular basis, then these restrictions, the Planning and Zoning Commission really doesn't do anything except approve all of these things. And obviously they've done it in our area, they've done it in other areas. So, you know, we have to get a voice on the council. And, you know, there's you, Mark, and Allison, and Lucy, and I are all here today. We're all on the ballot, and we're all 7 through 10 on the ballot. And if we can get two people that possibly win this election, and the only way I think we can do it is to call and to email and to text all the people that we know, get out and vote. So that's the only way any change is going to happen in this area. And I think it's a big problem.
Allison's got it. Allison's got us marching. You know, she's got us out there marching this weekend. I know that much. You know, we're out there putting stuff on doors and sample ballots and trying to get people fired up about this. It is a real issue because the problem is nobody thinks of it at one time when they do a house. Nobody thinks about it. They do one. Doesn't really matter. They do two. And then you're 10 or 15 or 20. And all of a sudden now that delicate balance between green space and sewer is gone. And that's a big problem. And like I said, that's going to require, you know, some definite help. One way or another, Lucy, if you win or if you don't win, you need to stay in this fight with this.
Oh, you know what? I'm still part of the DuPage County municipal engineers discussion group. So the good news is DuPage County is trying to push for more restrictions. We have, you know, our restrictions are much higher than Will County's, and because Will County is much more rural, so they don't have as much of an interest in you know, putting stormwater restrictions in place. So I understand that, but if we can push from that side also for all of DuPage County, you know, that means that Lyle has to do it. That means that, you know, everything that we get downstream, I can't remember, like Warrenville comes here, you know, all that runoff, that means everybody has to do it. So I stay in touch. I go to those meetings. I was working on a 0%, zero net new impervious threshold so that everyone would have to do it. But with COVID, like I think, and with me leaving the county, I don't know who else is working on it now, but there were some people trying to push for that. So I'll continue to push from that side as well.
Yep, well, that's great because we certainly need it. Like I said, when I talk to these people, they're very disappointed. Oh, well, you know, I think we beat that one to death this morning. Kind of a small group today. Is there anything else that we want to talk about? Or we can call it a day? You know, because we're all kind of like, hey, you know, it's like, I'm ready, you know, I can't even tell you my poor copier machine. You know, I just got this volunteer named Dominic. He's a wild man. I have made over 4,000 copies for him.
Wow.
Okay, two-sided color. I'm surprised my copying machine has not melted down. Okay, for what it's worth. You know, of which I hope that translates into some votes.
I was going to ask, what's everybody doing on election night? I think we're just going to stay home. It's the night before, you know, the kids go to school.
I'm staying home, and but I did say this, and I'm sure you'll be doing the same thing. I will at some time in the not too distant future have a celebration celebrating my volunteers and the effort the team put in. We will have a dinner or something when it's, I'm hopeful that, next Wednesday is the shot number 2. So I'm really happy about that. And I really am happy for Illinois in general, the fact that by, April 12th, anybody over 16 can now start getting set up. With a little bit of luck, that means that by summertime, we'll kind of have the opportunity to actually do something we haven't done in a long time, which is actually see people. And I would really like I said, I'm sure you feel the same way for your people that have helped you out. They've just been magnificent. I mean, I'm just impressed by how much people really get involved and what they're willing to do. It's very impressive. I'm sure you, like I said, for the same. So yeah, I'm staying at home. That was a long way of saying I'm staying at home.
Yeah, I have no idea what I'm going to do. Probably just stay at home. Hopefully it's a nice day. I'm going to probably plan on taking work off and just maybe smoke a brisket or something if the weather's nice.
I thought you were going to say smoke something else, but okay.
I was going to say something. They're so hard to get lit, but no, that's absolutely great. I think everybody's probably going to just sleep for a while after it's over too.
Yeah. After we pick up our signs on Wednesday.
We'll pick up our signs. If I have any left, if there's any left anywhere, but I do hope that'll be good. Okay, well, listen, thank you very much for participating. I'm sorry that we didn't get to bring the citizens out. I try. I really do. That makes me very nervous about, the extent of my campaign that's based on virtual. Based on what I'm seeing, I'm not very excited about that. I thought that, this is the modern age. We'll get them through the virtual cam. We'll get out there and do it. Time is going to tell, okay, for what it's worth. If you talk to the people who do it all the time, all I ever hear is it's all about ground game. So we'll see. Fortunately, I've been associated with some people who've been running a pretty good ground game, so I'm very happy about that. That's been a very good thing. We'll see how it all turns out. I want everybody to win. I know that's a ridiculous situation, but everybody's put their hearts and minds in it. And at the end of the day, I hope everybody comes out and thinks they're a winner no matter what the results are. Because I know personally, educationally, about the city, the things that I've learned. Okay. Even today, Lucy, thank you so much. The thoughts and the things that you talked about here with this smart detention, this is really an interesting thing for me. Okay. And, you know, I would like to see us keep going one way or another. I know Andrew has the hopes of carrying this kind of thing forward, and I think that's good. We have to figure out, you know, I think that this is what we really need in our community, is more interchange of ideas,
Yep.
right? And see if we can work forward towards something.
Yeah, an open forum that is just like if you're in someone's living room and just have that conversation, because that's how it starts, is building those relationships of, doesn't matter what background you're from, what political side of the aisle. I mean, we're at least in my belief, at the heart of it, we're all wanting what's best for the community, for, you know, the county, etc. So if we can start there, I think anything's possible. And I think this is the forum that it has to start at.
Yeah, I think COVID has reshaped the game, and this has become, you know, to build on Allison's comments, I don't think I could have done this if this would have been all the meet and greets, physically driving all over the place, doing all the things. That would have been impossible. I guess I have, maybe in years going by, there were less of them or something, and maybe there were more, you know, having never really been involved before, but I couldn't imagine keeping the pace associated in real time and face to face. Just to travel alone would kill you. Naperville's a big place.
I think in the real meet and greets, you have to provide the coffee and donuts, and you know, that kind of that stuff adds up.
Yeah. Zoom is awesome.
Yeah.
This is the only way to campaign for me. This is the future, without a doubt. You know, it really has been. And I think it's a great. What I really like about it is a leveler, right? The entry to be on Zoom is virtually nothing. You know, I think I got 100-seat Zoom thing for a year for $120 or something crazy like that. It's incredible.
Yeah.
You know, so it's been good. Anyhow, those are my closing comments. Anyone else? If not, Allison, look at this, well under an hour. I know that this is important. And I appreciate those 10-hour days too. Thanks for dropping off the box. Okay. And you got all your stuff. I see.
Yep.
So that's good.
Yep. All good.
And
Yeah. Thanks for storing it.
Julie was here. That worked out perfect.
Yeah. Got to meet her. Yeah. Yeah. No, thanks for storing all that for me. It's in my garage now. And yeah.
Well, you know what? Basically, it was no big deal at all. You know, it was there, and I'm glad that it was able to be there. You know, that's the thing. You know, if we help each other, I mean, that's the key to this thing, right?
Exactly.
All together, you know. So with that, I'm going to say, oh, Pamela just popped in with her hand raised. What?
Ooh,
I did. Since you have extra time, I just wanted to introduce myself. I've been in almost all the meetings, but I'm one of Mark's campaign
resources. Valued volunteer.
Volunteer, that's the word I was looking for. And I just wanted to say, after having listened to almost all of these Zoom meetings, that I can't vote for you because I don't live in Naperville or Illinois for that matter, but I wish I could. I'd vote for every one of you because I really respect all your viewpoints and your honesty and your commitment to the community. Just wanted to tell you guys that, since it's coming up on election day and we've only got one more of these left.
That's it. One more left, Pam, and we'll have a series, but maybe we can make like a, what do they call it when you put the like a box set of the of these, you know, they are.
Oh yeah, box set.
Game of Thrones. Yeah.
It's exactly. Our ratings are a little less, but that's okay. You know, our ratings are a little less, but nonetheless, it has been great. And I really want to thank, you know, Andrew and Lucy as joining here lately, and of course my true stalwarts, Allison and Vince. I mean, really, your participation has been so great and so appreciated. I really do. I wax nostalgic as we come to the end of this. Okay, it's been good. I hope that, you know, for what it's worth, from time to time, I've gotten definite, very strong, positive feedback from people who said, hey, you know, I didn't get it, but I saw it on YouTube. I really enjoyed it. It's really been helpful. I hope we've added to the dialogue. I hope that we were able to give some people some information and, you know, put some people behind the names, you know, on those two-dimensional pieces of paper that are showing up.